Namaskar, friends. We have been discussing the topic of quality in higher education. So, continuing with the series, we shall be discussing how the quality in higher education is to be understood, what are the basic parameters which are to be understood, which have the impact on the quality of higher education. So, friends, in our previous lecture, we have tried to understand that where do we stand as far as the international parameters are concerned, and how we can improve upon in our scenario in the higher education, so that we can somehow compete with the international universities. So friends, continuing with the same, let us try to understand that what is quality education from the higher education perspective, and how it is to be understood, where do we lack and what are the solutions of those areas where we are lacking. Quality in higher education means validating the personal aspirations. This means that the higher education, the students who are coming to the higher education are coming to validate their personal aspiration, because higher education is a link between the societal needs and the goals as well as the individual's needs and the goals. That is why its efficiency has the maximum impact on the development of the individual as well as development of the nation. These are the basic parameters of any higher education system. To improve upon the quality of higher education, we have to understand that which are the areas which we need to improve upon. First is examination. Friends, as far as the evaluation is concerned or the examination is concerned, that is presently the parameter to judge the educational standards. How far is it justified to consider that as an appropriate standard, the examination result being the appropriate standard? This is a question which all of us need to answer. If an educational institution which is showing high percentage, if it is to be considered as an institute of great quality, this is something which all of us need to understand and question ourselves. Friends, I think this is the lacuna of higher education. The educational institutions of the higher education are also competing with each other as far as the pass percentage is concerned. As to improve their quality, they are competing with each other to give the better result. Thereby, all of them are addressing to only one need, that is the learning, the information. The students, even at the higher education, are doing the same thing which they have done at the school level. They are just doing the mugging up, memorizing for the examination to pass the exam and then become eligible for the job. This has become an only role of the higher education. I think this is the reason why education is not doing qualitatively so well as it should be doing internationally, because we are concerned about marks. We are not concerned about improvement of the individual. We are not concerned about making the individual a better thinker, a better researcher, improving the capacity of the individual, improving the quality of the thinking of an individual, because we are not responding to the changing world. That is why we are lagging behind. We need to understand that whenever we talk about higher education directly affects economy of any country. That is why the developed nations have always considered higher education of the maximum most important. This is something which we need to do. That means the government need to contribute more as far as education is concerned. The academicians have been demanding to improve the GDP as far as the education sector is concerned. This is something which need to be done, that need to be addressed. But there is something which is more important to just improving the GDP. That is, we should understand where we lag behind and how we can improve upon those lacunas with minimum investment, because friends, we should not forget that we are developing nation, and as far as the financial is concerned, just like any middle class person, the financial crunch is the reality of our nation as well. So we should not expect the government to blindly give us money. We should understand that the money which is being given, is it being used appropriately? Is it being used completely? How we should ensure that the grants which are coming to the higher education institution, they are being used appropriately and accurately, as well as accountability should be fixed to the people for using the grants, as well as ensuring that those grants are becoming beneficial as far as the improvement of the higher education is concerned in the terms of quality. Poor quality of higher education is due to quite many factors. One is that we don't have favorable environment for teaching and learning. How to improve the favorable environment for teaching and learning? One, as we talked about, that we should be working upon the physical infrastructure, but more important to that is working upon learning infrastructure. Teachers have to become more accountable as far as learning mechanism is concerned. They should be more productive from the point of view of research. The teaching learning should be associated with the needs of the industries, so that we become research oriented in such a manner that we are able to produce the knowledge, information or the material for the industries. Then naturally, as it is happening in quite many nations including China, that the universities are being funded by the industries themselves, because industries are getting the research from the universities, and thereby the universities are benefiting in the form of funds. So we have to become more productive from that point of view. We have to work upon our curriculum in such a manner. For this, we need to improve our feedback and monitoring system. From where does the feedback come to the higher education? The feedback comes from the parents, from the students, from the industries who are employing the students of the higher education. We should be catering to that feedback in positive manner as well as in honest manner. Moreover, we should be monitoring the system in such a manner that the system remains positive and productive and research oriented. Because whenever we talk about higher education, may it be the institution, may it be the university, may it be the college, it itself means that the organization is working for benefit of improving the grey matter of the country. So that should be at the center. We have to improve the think tank of the nation by investing in higher education. That should be at the center. Now friends, let us try to touch upon that which are the factors which are affecting the quality of higher education. The first factor, which is often cited by almost all the academicians and all the policy makers, is politicization. It is generally seen that whenever the senior most person of the university or the college, that is vice chancellor and the principal respectively, those positions, those appointments are often viewed as political appointment. That results in decreasing the quality. So this is something which we need to tackle. Apart from that, another challenge which exists is that we have to take care of quality of intake. Quality of intake means that we should not be taking the students straight away on the basis of marks. Friends, I think this is a very important point which has also been touched upon by NEP 2020 when they have addressed this issue by stating that the universities should be taking student on the basis of test, and that test shall be conducted by NTA. Of course, it has been left to the understanding of the university, the wisdom of the universities to take up the score from the NTA or to conduct their own test, because it has been realized in NEP 2020 that the grades or the marks which are achieved by the student in class 12th shall not be the parameter as far as the admission to the institutions is concerned, because that is leading to admission of quite many undeserving candidates as well. And moreover, there is no way to find out that whether the student who has gained marks is really capable of doing well in the higher education or not. So friends, this is an important aspect which we need to tackle, that we should be taking good quality of students. We should be addressing the poor quality of the student at the school level, as well as seeing that we are taking the good quality of the students at the higher education level. Then another aspect which we need to touch upon is managerial inefficiency. Why do we have managerial inefficiency? The reason is that usually the principals who are appointed to the colleges, they are not providing the regular orientation program. This is something which we need to introduce and make it mandatory, that the principals who are appointed on the basis of seniority have to improve their managerial efficiency by undergoing certain training program, because that is going to have directly effect on the quality of education, and thereby they would be improving their managerial skill. Another important thing which we have touched upon in our previous lecture also, that the student teacher ratio. It has been often seen that we have overcrowded classroom in the colleges and in the universities. We have to have control over the teacher student ratio, because that is one of a very important parameter whenever we talk about QS ranking or other world level ranking, which rank the organizations on the basis of the teacher student ratio. So this is something which we need to cater to. Another important aspect which we need to touch upon is that inadequate student service. What does inadequate student service mean? This means that the students are not oriented as to improve. These are something which we need to refer to. When we talk about improving the physical infrastructure, this is something which we need to refer to and understand that health services should be improving, the hostel facility should be improving, guidance and counseling services of the students should be improving in the higher education institution, universities as well as college. This is something which we require. Another important aspect which is leading to lack in the quality of the higher education is inadequate material resources. Inadequate material resources means that we don't have the playground, we don't have the good classrooms, we don't have that infrastructure as far as the laboratory and libraries are concerned, and in fact it is seen that in the remote areas the universities don't even have the toilet facilities and the staff rooms. So these are the things which we need to address. Another important aspect which is most important from my point of view is the non-accountability of the institution. I think we need to work upon this, that the institution should be made accountable. The people who are occupying the managerial position, they should be made accountable for the poor quality in higher education, and thereby they would be addressing the issue of unaccountability. Then another important aspect is that the teaching, inefficiency in teaching. Why do we have inefficiency in teaching? Because the teachers who are recruited in the universities, they are supposedly they should be lifelong learners, because they are supposed to strengthen their knowledge voluntarily, but this is not something which is happening. In few good institutions only this is happening, that the teachers are creating knowledge, they are working upon themselves as to improve the research, their own research, their citation, but this should be made mandatory, that the teachers in every institution should be contributing the quality papers which can be cited internationally. They should be working upon improving their research, they should be providing good papers. For this, of course, they would require good library facility. This is something which we need to provide to the universities as well as college, because that is the way how we can energize our teachers' proficiency and competency. Another important aspect which we also discussed in our previous lecture was examination reform. Friends, we understand that the examination system is run in such a manner that it is not reliable anymore. The evaluation is not reliable, because evaluation is not evaluating the knowledge of the student, it is not evaluating the dynamism of the student, it is not evaluating the creativity or innovativeness of the student, it is just evaluating the mugging power of the student. If the student is good as far as mugging is concerned, the memorization is concerned, he or she considered to be good student at the university level, at the college level. So we have to come up with the new methods of grading, and we have to be innovative as far as these examination reforms are concerned. Another important aspect which is resulting in lesser of quality is the teaching method. Teaching method need to become more reflective from the international point of view. Teachers should be using more qualitative teaching material and should be using more multimedia, and of course this COVID-19 has proven that we have to become more IT savvy. We have to understand information technology in a better manner to use it for our students so that we can improve our teaching method. Another important aspect which has been cited by various academicians and the policy framers as far as lacuna in the quality of the higher education is concerned, that we have irrelevant curriculum. Friends, it is very important and it is a fact also that the curriculum is not really worked upon keeping in view the need of the market, the need of the student, the need of the nation. So it has to work for improving the employability of the student. And of course, the motivation has to be there for the teachers and students. So teachers should be motivated in such a manner that the teachers who are good researchers, they should be fairly awarded. That these are the ways in which we can improve upon our education system. Another important aspect is, as we discussed in our previous lecture also, that we should be diversifying our Indian higher education and training system. Friends, this is also one of an aspect which has been touched by NEP when it has talked about making Indian higher education diversified and catering to every kind of student rather than catering to only sciences or humanities or social sciences. In fact, it should be catering to every kind of student as well as orienting itself in such a manner that it caters to the training system as well. So friends, we have talked about curriculum, we have talked about teachers, we have talked about the physical infrastructure, we have talked about the learning infrastructure also. How to improve upon it? The easiest and the simplest way is that let us collect the data from the job market and let it be analyzed, and after dissemination of that information, we can conclude that what really universities need so that they can create students who are more employable. So this is something simple way to cater to the quality of higher education. Now let us try to understand that on the basis of NAC and NIRF, that the institutions which are rated at A+ and which are rated as B+, what are the difference between the two, so that we can understand that how those institutions need to be improved. Whenever we talk about NAC, about 111 universities and 3,492 colleges have been assessed as having deficiencies in the availability of human resources in terms of quantity and quality teachers as well as physical and other infrastructure facilities. So this is the basic difference between the A and B categories as far as the universities and colleges are concerned. Another important aspect when the NAC analyzes for finding out that where the institutions stand as far as the quality is concerned is what percentage of libraries, computer centers, health centers that is being addressed to. That means that the physical infrastructure is being addressed by the institution. That is one of an aspect of NAC, but more NAC and NRF are more concerned about the learning infrastructure than the physical infrastructure. But of course, physical infrastructure in terms of health centers, sports facilities, hostels, guest house and canteens, common rooms also need to be improved, but learning infrastructure needs to be more improved. For improving learning infrastructure, of course, the number of researchers is more important, the PhD degrees which are being given by the university, the patents of the college or the university, the books per students, the books created by the teachers or edited by the teachers, the papers or which have been written by the students and the teachers, they are of more important whenever we talk about quality of the higher education. So friends, to bring it to the parity as far as the quality is concerned, we need to work upon on the physical as well as academic infrastructure, because NAC and NRF has pointed out the indicators, and those indicators we need to address to. What are the solutions? Let us try to go back to the various recommendations which have been made by various committees. First of all, we need to work upon our regulating bodies, and I think this is something which was addressed, which was at the center when NEP 2020 worked upon giving the reform, the ideas of reform as far as higher education is concerned, that the regulating bodies need to be reassessed, and for this of course the National Commission has to be there, and the research should be at the center. Whenever we talk about the higher education, maybe the college or the university, the research should be at the center. And IIT IIM should be model to all the universities and the colleges. In fact, we should also be working upon imparting knowledge to our young students in such a manner that they have an opportunity to create their own knowledge. So friends, this is something which we reflected upon initially also when we said that what kind of research papers the students are producing, or what kind of equipment if the students are producing. If the students are utilizing their knowledge in such a manner that they are productive in the form of knowledge creation, they are producing some kind of instrument in the market, then naturally we would say that organization is really doing very well. This is one of the tasks of the university. Another task of the university is to provide to their graduate interdisciplinary experience, and because this is something which is being provided by IITs, this should be done by all universities. That this is being done internationally also. If we have a look at the best institutions of the world, then we find that all of them have the interdisciplinary exposure for the students, and that make the students sustain as far as the demand of the particular job market is concerned. So we shall be exposing our graduates to interdisciplinary experience, and this is the point, friends, which has been taken up by NEP 2020 also in its suggestions, where it has been written that the university should cater to interdisciplinary domain, and the system should be more flexible, because theoretical knowledge is not really resulting in the productive individuals as far as the higher education is concerned. So theoretical knowledge should always be accompanied by practical experience. To teach effectively, one need to engage in research, made by the student, made by the teacher. Student, why I am saying student, because if the student is research oriented, the student will be thinking more. If the student is thinking more, then naturally student will be questioning more. If the student is questioning more, then the teacher has to prepare oneself according to the need of the student. For making students think more, we need to redesign our syllabus. We need to relook the evaluation and the exam pattern which exist in our university level. We need to expose our students to interdisciplinary in an integrated manner, and of course whenever we talk about professional programs, we need to understand those professional programs have to cater to the international parameters. They have to be managed in such a manner that they can compete, their knowledge of the students can compete with the international students. And another important thing is that we should be having more international students. NEP 2020 has catered to it in such a manner that the Indian universities or the Indian colleges who are able to be there in the first 100 good universities of the world ranking, they would be allowed to have their campuses in the foreign countries, and similarly the universities and the colleges who are there in the first 100 QS ranking or another Times ranking, the international rankings, they would be allowed to have their campuses in India. Naturally, if they would have their campuses in India, then they would be catering to the quality of the higher education, and thereby we would be producing more able, more creative, more innovative young people who will be more reliable from the aspect of our industrial situation, our industrial organization, our industrial infrastructure, because that is very important for economic development of our country. We need to have more organizations like IIT IIM. So does that mean that we should we should introduce more IITs, IIM? No. That means that the existing universities should try to become good IITs and IIM. They should be copying the whatever exists in IIT, IIMs and thereby improving their system. The autonomy which is given to the higher education, that has to be improved upon. It should be free from pressure of the politics and the party. This is a very important thing which has been cited again and again by the educationists as well as the policy framers. So, friends, another important aspect which we touched upon in our previous lecture also is that we need to have good teachers. How to have good teachers? We should try to evaluate that what is needed to be a good teacher. The teacher need not only be good from the academic achievements, but also be good from the research point of view. So, the interest and aptitude of the teacher need to be assessed, and we need to have more recruitment done, because friends, in the previous lecture also I shared that the recruitment of the teachers is something which we need to address, because it has been seen and observed that the ratio of the student teacher is really very poor as far as our country is concerned. And to improve that ratio of student teacher, the vacant positions which are vacant positions of the teachers which are lying there in various universities and institutions, that need to be filled up, and it should be at the center. Who can take it up? Of course, the managers of the universities, the vice chancellors, the honorable vice chancellors and the principals are the one who shall be doing it, and to do it they need to be provided the needed support in the form of monetary, in the form of finance, as well as the confidence as to take their decision. So, friends, another important aspect which we touched upon in our previous lecture was that the feedback has to be assessed. And where do we get the feedback? The feedback has to come from the student, the feedback has to come from the peers, feedback has to come from the principal of the colleges, because that rating which has to be done of the teachers from various angles should be introduced to make them more competitive. This is something which we need to introduce. Curriculum need to be addressed in such a manner that our higher education becomes as vibrant as we have higher education in our ancient era, that is Nalanda. All of us give example of Nalanda and other Takshila and other organizations which higher organizations which we had in our India, which was addressing to not just the need of our own nation, but also was were the universities which were seen by even the foreign nation as somewhere to be part of. So, if we had such kind of history, why are we not able to repeat that history? To repeat that history, we need to go back to those ancient organizations and understand that what strength they had. They had interdisciplinary, they had multiple languages, they had research perspective, they had less student teacher ratio. So, these are the things which we need to address as to improve upon our system. And of course, to improve the equity, we have talked about that GER is something which should be at the center for improvement of the education system. Infrastructure development should be at the center as far as the higher education system is concerned. So, friends, at this note, I will take your leave and shall join you again in some other new topic. Namaskar, have a good day.